If you have a pilot interview coming up, preparation is key. And whether it's the first pilot job interview of your career or what you hope will be the last one in aviation, the tips in this video will help. Coming up.
963 heavy, sliding 190, maintain 10,000, runway 18 left, clear for takeoff.
Hey crew, what's going on? Welcome back. If you're new to the channel, my name's Kelsey. I'm a 747 pilot. This channel is all about aviation. Consider subscribing. In this video, I'm going to talk about everything that you need to do in order to prepare for your pilot interview that's coming up. Let's get into it.
All right, let's do this.
So the first thing that I want to establish is the difference between a normal job interview and a pilot interview. Normally when you go to an interview, what they're looking to do is see if you're qualified to fit that role that they're interviewing for. When you go and interview for a pilot job, you've already met all their qualifications. You're basically showing up and you have the job. So assuming that you do the interview portion well, you're going to get to keep the job. So there's a big difference between you're looking at a normal job interview that you've ever gone on and a pilot interview, is that again, when you go in for a pilot interview, you've already met the qualifications of what they need. So all you got to do is be prepared and keep that job. Luckily for me, every pilot interview that I've gotten to on a face-to-face level, I've been hired. And a lot of that is due to the level of preparation that I did prior to going in there. Now I've applied to a lot of places and didn't even get all the way to the interview stage because I didn't meet their qualifications or whatever. Once you've made it to that face-to-face interview, you basically have the job. That's why it's really important to prepare before you go in there, because you already have the job and you're basically looking to avoid uncomfortable situations like this.
I can do that, but I'm not gonna carry your naked ass into the tub. I'll drag you there, but I'm not gonna cradle you like a newborn, okay? I'm not gonna do that.
So just grab me and get it over with.
Fine.
Oh, ow! God, you're hurting me, man.
Let's just get it over with. Come on.
I'm not gonna argue semantics with you.
Oh, no!
Grab the curtain! Grab the curtain! Grab the curtain!
Go!
So we're going to go over a few things that you can do in order to prepare to make things go a lot smoother, and you're going to be a lot more comfortable, and it should make the interview process go a lot easier. So you wouldn't go out and fly without looking at the weather, right? So that's the same thing that you're going to want to do for this interview. There's something called a gauge, and the gauge generally has information, just like when you did for your check rides. It's going to have the same type of information of what the interview process is going to be like. So you can ask other people that have already interviewed there, you can look at forums, you can find a lot of different resources to find people who've already been through this process, and you want to kind of know what is this interview going to go like, just like what is your check ride going to go like. So the first tip is get out and either find some people that have already been through the process that have been hired, or look online and try to get some gauges from people who've already gone through and know what is the process going to be like on the interview. So next you want to make sure that you know your current operation. What will happen generally in these interviews is they may start asking technical questions. They'll ask you something like, all right, in this scenario, what are the fuel requirements, or whatever it might be. Now you may have done enough research so you know what their operational requirements will be. But if you haven't, or if they ask you something you don't know, it's very important you can rely on your current operator's rules. And this is how that would go. They're going to ask you a situation, and if you don't know the way that they want things done, your answer could be something along the line of, I'm not sure the way you guys do it. In my current operation, our requirements would require me to do A, B, and C. Obviously, you guys may have different rules, which if I get offered the position, I'll obviously learn, but at my current carrier, my operations require me to do A, B, and C. That gives you a chance to answer the question that they're asking, and it shows that for your current carrier, you know what it is that they expect from you. So from the perspective of the person doing the hiring during the interview, they're gonna say, well, this individual knows what he needs to do for his current operator, which means, in their mind, that you will be doing the same thing if you get hired and start working for them. So the next thing is a lot of larger carriers have a human resources element that has been introduced recently. They're gonna ask you a question that's phrased something like, tell me about a time when, and they'll say something. You didn't get along with the captain. Tell me about a time when you didn't get along with a captain. Tell me about a time when you had a crew member where you got into an argument, or a passenger that was causing a scene.
I want to fly the plane!
Anything like that. Now, anytime they start asking you in that phrasing, tell me about a time when, there's a specific format that they want you to reply. And what that format is the situation, what you did, and what the result was. As an example, tell me about a time you had a captain who tried to do something illegal. Here would be an example of a reply. I showed up to the plane, the logbook hadn't been signed over from maintenance, and we were doing an out and back. And the captain said, hey, let's just go and come back, we'll just have him sign it when we get back. What I said to him was, Captain, I don't feel comfortable with this situation. Let's just call maintenance real quick, we'll get him over here. It'll take a couple of minutes, and we'll try to make up the time on the turn, and we'll get there and get back on time. And he said, all right, that's fine. So I called maintenance really quickly and got him to come out there. We ended up blocking out 5 minutes late. We arrived to our destination on time and got back and finished, and then it was a great day. Something along that line. But it's the situation, what you did, and then what the result was. Obviously, you're gonna wanna pick scenarios in which you did something that ended in a good result. You obviously don't wanna do something like, I showed up and the logbook was out of date. The captain said, let's go anyways. I said, no, we're not doing that. I'm gonna run this thing.
I'm the man up in this piece.
And then you guys got into an argument, and then the maintenance came and they told us, oh yeah, you were right, First Officer Kelsey. You shouldn't have done that. And then we were arguing, and then the whole flight was silent. You don't want to do that. You want to come up with scenarios in which, hey, this is the situation, this was the thing that I did, and the result, you want it to be a good result. So that's where that gouge is important, because you're going to find out some of the things that they're going to ask you about, some of the questions they may ask, and you're going to want to write those questions down and formulate your own answers for those questions. So that'll give you some time to start thinking about these questions and answers that you can give to those questions. So that way you can have not a robot answer, but a story attached to that to answer that specific question that they may ask you. All right, next you want to know the operation of the airline that you're interviewing with. You're going to want to know the aircraft type that they have, that they're currently flying, their bases. You're going to want to have a preference on the plane that you're going to fly, but at the end of the day, your answer is going to be you'll take whatever aircraft they give you, because when you're there interviewing, you're basically interviewing for that airline. You're not interviewing for a plane or for a base. You're interviewing for everything. So initially, you're going to want to be willing to take any base and any plane that that airline has. But you're going to want to know all the bases. You're going to want to know all the aircraft and the number of the aircraft. You're going to want to know their customers, who they're dealing with, all those types of operational things about that airline, because they're going to want to know why is it that you want to work at that airline. You know, obviously, if you've seen some of my earlier videos, you know that there's a lot of airlines hiring right now, so they know that you have options. So you want to go in there selling them that this is why it's a perfect fit for you and your family. If you have a family, hey, this airline fits X, Y, and Z for me. Knowing that history of that airline and the aircraft that they have and the bases that they have and the type of operations that they have, that will show that the people who you're interviewing with, hey, this guy's really done his research, so if we offer him the job and he comes here, he'll stay. It's very important that you know the history of that company and the current operations that they have. So next thing that you want to start doing is practicing out loud, answering the questions that they're going to ask. If you did the research and got the gouge information and found out the types of questions they're going to ask, what I do is I write down all the questions that I got from the gouge, HR questions that they're going to be asking. I write all those questions down, then I formulate my own answers. And sometimes it takes me a couple days and I just, I'm thinking about that question, and then I think of the answer that I want or the story that I want that will go to that, and I'll write that down and I just do it on my computer. Then I start practicing. It's just like everything in aviation. When you chair fly, that video I talk about on passing your check rides, I talk about repetition in chair flying, it's the exact same thing for this. It's going to take practice in order to be able to show up and not look stupid.
Are you stupid or something?
Stupid is as stupid does, sir.
When you go into the interview, because it just looks awkward. You show up and they're asking you questions and you're staring at them like, you don't want to do that. You want to show up and be overly prepared, because again, everything that happens in that interview, they're looking at it, they're saying, hey, this guy showed up for the interview really prepared. He's going to prepare for training, he's going to prepare for flying, and it's going to be the same if you show up unprepared. So you show up unprepared, they're going to say, well, if the guy's not willing to prepare for the interview, why is he going to prepare for training? Is he going to prepare when he goes out flying? And they're going to assume no. Writing down everything and then practicing out loud, either videotaping yourself to a mirror, to a friend, to your girlfriend or your boyfriend, practicing answering those questions so you can have practice getting it out of your mouth. It's the same as chair flying. Practice. What I did is I recorded myself and I talked to myself in the mirror. It's weird, but that's what I do to prepare. Next thing is you want to sell yourself on why this job is good for you. And the reason that you want to sell yourself on it is because you want to go in excited. This is the job for you that you really want it. If you cannot sell yourself on why this is a good job for you, then you shouldn't go to the interview. A few years ago, I had done an interview. It was like a 3-phase interview. It was first a quick phone call interview, and then it was a Skype interview, and then it was a face-to-face, which was basically a formality. So we did the phone interview, and it was good, and it was, relatively quick. Then we did the Skype interview, and it was the chief pilot and an HR person and director of operations or somebody like that. And we did that whole interview, and during that, I was starting to see some things about this company that I thought, you know what, I don't think this is going to be a good fit for me. But I continued the interview, and they said, hey, when would you be able to come down for the final face-to-face interview? It's going to be more of a formality. They had some dates that I couldn't do, and they said, all right, we'll get back to you with some other options. So over that next couple of days, I was thinking about it and kind of talking with a few friends, and I couldn't get excited at all about this job. Now, some of my friends said, go to the interview anyways and use it as practice. I personally don't agree with that because I think you're wasting your time, you're wasting their time. I think it's bad karma, personally. I know some guys say go and interview and do that even if you don't want the job, and I disagree with that personally. I think that is not cool to waste their time. They're running a business and waste your time. If you wanna go waste your time running around interviewing at places that you don't want to go to, fine. But I think it's better to spend your time wisely and practice and prepare yourself on some of these things that I'm talking about and go in and just crush the interview that you have. You don't need to do a bunch of fake interviews because you're not going to care, so you're not going to put the effort into it. Sell yourself on that airline so that way when you show up you're excited and you know why it is that you want to be there. So the last thing is I want to tell you, even though I've gotten hired at all the places that I've interviewed at, I haven't interviewed at tons of places as a pilot, don't feel bad if it doesn't work out.
So, it's not the end of the world.
Sometimes it doesn't happen. If you failed a check ride, you know that you could put all the preparation and really want it, but it just doesn't work out. The most important thing is that you're out there and you're making the effort and you're trying. I'd rather meet a guy who's failed 3 interviews in a row than a guy who's done none. Every time that you fail an interview, hopefully you learn something to make it better. A good friend of mine, she's a flight attendant. I remember she had failed an interview, the face-to-face interview. She had made it through everything and failed that face-to-face interview, and I could see it kind of let the wind out of her sails. I was really pushing her to keep going and applying to other places. I'm the type of person that if I have a goal that I want to meet, I will just kick down and ram into doors until I break through and get in. I'm an Aries, so I guess that's why, but it's important that if you go in and you've prepared and you did everything that you needed to do to get that job, but it didn't work out, don't worry about it. Use that as a learning experience, and you'll have that experience plus all the stuff in this video to hopefully prepare and pass that next pilot interview that you have. Alright crew, that wraps up my tips on what you need to do in order to prepare for your next pilot interview. In the comment section below, let me know what the next pilot job interview you have coming up is. I look forward to hearing from you. Until then, keep the blue side up.